Hello, Penny. Pleasure having you today to talk about your extraordinary journey in STEM so far and your recent award in the Connect the Community Design Challenge organized by Iris Components. Now, before we dive into your extraordinary work and your two projects, could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Penny Morton and I am currently a project engineer at Cool Mill Systems. So I work on designing and building machines that are improving cereal processing, so a lot of like rice milling. I have a master's in product design engineering, which I did at the Glasgow University and the Glasgow School of Art. I was also president of FemEng, the Female Engineering Society, in my final year, and I was outreach convener the year before. And during my university summers, I worked and volunteered and did lots of projects across the world, from China to Turkey to India. So I love meeting new people, and I love challenges that involve diverse cultures and unique challenges.
That's great. So let's start with like a little bit of a warm-up questions. So in the past decade, equality and diversity in STEM have been a topic that many engage in conversations about. And of course, you and me and all of FemEng and many other women around the world are trying to reach out and inspire as many girls as possible to pursue a career in STEM. So I was wondering, when exactly was the time when you were in school or in your childhood when you that got you thinking, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, or STEM and engineering is what I want to study in university and then see where this leads me.
So from a young age, I would say I've always loved maths, physics, and I've always been quite talented as well at art. So I would say throughout my school career and in secondary, I actually wanted to be a maths teacher for quite a long time. But I think that was because it was the only profession at that age I'd really seen and was like related to. I didn't really know much about the other jobs that were out there. My dad actually is a doctor, and he took me to Take Your Child to Work Day. And I actually fainted while watching him do like a little operation. So it turns out that I don't like the sight of blood. So I thought, oh God, I can't be a doctor anymore. So then I looked into lots of different other options. My friends were quite set on what they wanted to do at university. I had no idea. I actually applied to architecture. I did some work experience in architecture as well. I liked it, but I didn't get the feeling of like, oh, this is for me. I also looked at doing like financial mathematics and kind of going down more the financial route, but I actually fell asleep in one of the university lectures that I went to go see on that. So I thought, maybe that's not for me either. And then when I was at an open day with my mum, we actually got lost and we ended up stumbling across a lecture on product design engineering. And as soon as I sat in that lecture and I learned about what you do on the course, it was like, yes, this is for me completely. It's because it combined both of my like maths and physics and that like problem solving aspect, but it meant I could also use my creative skills and still be designing. So for me, it was the absolute dream. And it's a very new course, and you find that a lot of other girls who study that course have the same story as me. Like it was the only course they find which combined all of those things together. So yeah, I was so lucky that I found that course, and I don't know what I'd be doing if I had it now.
It was all fate, I should say,
Yeah.
definitely. That's really nice. So let's talk about the challenge. You participated in the Connected Community Design Challenge last year, and two of your projects were finalists, which is incredible. Congratulations.
Thank
Can
you.
you share with us what the challenge was all about?
Yeah, so the challenge was to come up with an innovative solution that can help people stay safe and remain in their home. So whether that might be someone like self-isolating with symptoms, they could be vulnerable, or they might simply actually just be struggling with their all-round physical and mental health. So they basically wanted solutions that would use wireless technology, so Bluetooth or cellular, that would address one or more of the issues experienced by those in isolation. One thing to bear in mind was in the brief, they stated that the solutions needed to be easy to use and accessible to a range of people in vulnerable circumstances. So throughout the design process, that was really one of the things I was considering all the time, was like how I might want to use this, but is this actually going to help and be easy to use for like a range of different people, which is a lot harder to design for than just designing for yourself. That's easy.
So it's focused on like every age group that you can possibly focus on. So the first one is community check-in. I read that it's a project about helping each other in difficult circumstances, just as you said. And it involves LED lights in rainbow colors, which is definitely a ray of sunshine in your day, especially when you might be feeling moody or demotivated. So how exactly do we use the system to check on each other and support each other?
So the community check-in system is a simple and efficient system designed to help people isolating due to COVID, but whilst empowering the community. So the community check-in system is a visually engaging LED rainbow that sticks to the user's window and indicates how they're feeling that day. So a traffic light system ensures clear communication and ease of understanding. So for example, green is good, orange is okay, but maybe need assistance, and red is you need urgent help. The device is reset every day when the occupant answers, "How are you feeling today?" The digital rainbow device is designed to not be intrusive and prevent vulnerable people from being disturbed when not needing help, but whilst also empowering registered community members to offer assistance when needed. So the device would work by connecting via Bluetooth to an app, providing safe communication for details of medical or shopping requirements, with the potential to include in community activities as well. And the community check-in system, the whole idea behind it was really to create new connections within the community and try and spark that, like the initial conversation between people that you otherwise would have never spoken to, or you never would have met, that actually like just live down the road, and that you realize that you can help them too. And the shape was actually inspired by all of the rainbows that we've seen in the windows of the houses during lockdown, kind of as a symbol of peace and hope. So yeah, the rainbow device, as you said, really looks to brighten up the neighbourhood and bring a smile on to people who are passing by.
That's great. Do you want to show us more pictures that are connected to the challenge and how
Yeah,
exactly it looks like?
yeah. So this here, that was kind of the shape, and that was where the shape was inspired from. This was how it works, and kind of some of my 3D modeling. That's showing the different LEDs. It would also be made from cardboard, because it was really important to me that it was made from a sustainable and recyclable material. The Nordic Thingy 52 is how it communicates to the phone within the house. And the adhesive tape, that would be how it would like easily just stick on the window. I wanted to kind of give the option that the person could either have it sitting on their windowsill, or they could just like stick it on the window. So it's really easy for people outside to just to check in and just see, do they need my help or do they not? Because quite a common thing sometimes with elderly people in particular is they're fine, they're happy in their home, they don't need help, but they actually get more annoyed by people checking in on them all the time. So if they just have this green rainbow at their window, then it's they can be left alone.
Protecting yourself, living in peace. Okay, so were there any particular challenges that you faced while designing this?
Yeah, so I think I was able to do a lot of the development on the technical side, as you can kind of see here in the slides. Me just thinking about how it would work, doing some diagrams. But in terms of the actual the user feedback and being able to get experience and feedback on my actual idea and my prototype is really difficult because of coronavirus. So kind of to get around that, what I did was I shared my idea virtually with elderly and vulnerable friends and family who I was able to just get an idea of, is this a good idea? Like, would you use this? Would your gran or would your pregnant wife want to use this type of device? Like, would it be helpful? And if it was helpful, like one of the things I always ask when I'm asking for feedback is, okay, tell me what your opinion is, but what's bad about it? I always want to know like the negatives, because that's what's going to help me improve my design, or they're going to be a lot more critical. I don't want someone to just say, oh, it's a great idea. I'm like, okay, but next, like what do you not like about it, or what would you do differently? It's a much more valuable question for me. So that was just something that I really struggled with during coronavirus. Well, coronavirus is still going on. So yeah, I think what I'll probably do next on that front is maybe try and circulate maybe my actual prototype, and for example get my nana to try and use it and see how she uses it, because then it's a lot more safe than me, for example, going into a care home or someone I don't know. It's unfortunate, but it's a situation that we need to deal with. And the design, the concept is actually designed to help those people. So it's like these things are going against each other. For me to get the best feedback and be able to improve the design for those people who are vulnerable, I actually need them to try it out. But yeah, I'm getting there with it.
That's great. So if there's you're getting feedback of like how it's going on and what they think about it, but is there anyone who may be giving you feedback on the more technical aspect of it and how exactly to improve it and like there's the electronics and things like that?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in a lot of close contact with Nordic Semiconductor and RS Components. So they've been helping me so much with the technical side. In terms of the actual electrical circuit, it's very simple. But in terms of the communication, like the Bluetooth communication between the Rainbow device and the phone, and then how that like signal is sent, that's an area that I'm not an expert in and an engineer. I know about it and I understand the systems, but in terms of like actually designing them and implementing them, for me is new. So that's something I brought up with Nordic Semiconductor and RS Components last week when I had a meeting with them. And they were so helpful. They were like, Penny, it's okay, you can do this. And sometimes that's all you need. When you work on your own and you face a problem, it's quite hard to overcome it sometimes. It's very much a roller coaster all the time. So having just those other people there to emotionally support you, as well as Sam from RS Components just sent me like a link on, this is actually, Penny, this is a piece of technology that you'd use, and this is kind of how other people have used it. And I think that's one thing to really bear in mind. For me, when I'm embarking on something new, the internet can be a wonderful place, but it's also can be a bad place, because you can get so lost and go down a deep rabbit hole of all this knowledge, and you realize, oh wait, that's too complicated, I don't actually need to use that. So having Claire and Sam be there and be able to send me like a link straight away, because they're experts in this field, has been a massive help. And it's really helped me in terms of speaking to him last week to now know what I need to do next and what's my next stage of development. So I wouldn't be able to do it without that support.
It's great having emotional support behind your back and to get you along the way. And what about your other project, the Connected Cups project? What is it about? Tell us briefly.
So Connected Cups encourages the elderly to stay hydrated in a fun and a new way. So a loved one can gently remind their grandparent, and they can check in if they're drinking enough. But the whole idea is it's through a shared experience. So my kind of thinking behind the idea was phone apps and websites, they can help you stay connected, but Connected Cups is more about helping you feel connected to someone. I realised that real-time presence means so much in any relationship. So the idea is that when one person uses their cup, the other person lights up. So it's really just encouraging the act of drinking together. It uses an accelerometer to measure the amount one person is drinking. And to create the shared experience, the LED on the cup visually indicates the amount the other person has drunk. So you know exactly when your friend has finished their drink. Building the prototype for this one has been so much fun. I've been using a bare conductive board, which is used as like capacitive sensing, which you can see in the pictures there. That's like my prototype. It's like copper wrapped around a cup. And basically that is how you detect at what level the water is. So that's something that I'm working on right now and I'm loving doing.
So was it something that came to mind just by lockdown begun and you couldn't see your loved ones, you couldn't be there to support them, or even with your friends to have a drink, let's say on a Friday night? So what was the occasion in particular that got you thinking about this project and developing it?
So I would say there's probably two occasions actually. So from previous experience working and engaging with elderly and their carers in care homes and independent living accommodation, it was a project that I did while I was at university. I really understood the connection between the elderly and children. Because I realized that children can persuade their grandparents to do like something that no one else could. They tend to inject a bit of fun and energy back into their life. So my goal was really to create a product that facilitated that physical connection between both generations while improving physical health and well-being. After all, drinking water is good for everyone of all ages. But on a second note, it was also inspired during my many Zoom calls with the girls, and I graduated under coronavirus and lockdown. So we would just be maybe having a glass of wine together. And it was trying to facilitate that physical connection through Zoom. So there's kind of two strands to it. And with this product, I see it being more of a range. Like it could be that you have like the wine glass, it's for, just having a wee glass of wine at night with your friends, or it could be between a parent and their child at school to just they're at work but their child's in school and it's like their water bottle to see how much they're drinking, as well as being an elderly person who's maybe in a care home and a bit lonely, with someone like really young and like their granddaughter or grandson. So there's a lot of strands that it could go off into, and I think that that's why it was kind of inspired by like more than one personal experience.
So do you have to have the particular cup designed already when you get it, or it's something that you can fit on any cup depending on its size?
This was my first initial sketch. I thought it would be better to have an attachment onto a cup so that people could still have their favorite cup and it wouldn't make a difference. In an idea, that sounds great, but then when I start to boil down to the technology, and for example, being able to have a battery that would fit into something like really slim but be able to still fit over someone else's cup, it all got very complicated. And then after when I spoke to RS Components and Nordic Semiconductor, they agreed with my decision on actually changing it to be a physical cup, because then I could quite cleverly the technology in the base of the cup, as you can see here. So the idea was to have a cork base, and then that's where the battery and the communication technology was stored. It just means also that I could build it a lot safer. I could hide the copper tape and the like LEDs and conceal them and just make it look like more of a complete product than something that's just attached on.
All right, so it's all about like drinking and things, but I wanted to talk with you about dehydration. So we all know it's a serious problem, and recently these days I've noticed that on social media, drink water and stay hydrated has become a catchphrase that people see, but they actually don't create a habit out of it to drink water regularly, or any other liquids. But there's also people who do not actually have a clean source for drinking water. So I was wondering, what role did dehydration play in you creating this project?
So a massive role. Dehydration is a really serious issue amongst the elderly, and it's associated with morbidities, increased falls, confusion, infections, and a lot of like hospitalisation. I actually found a study that found that 20% of UK residents in long-term care were dehydrated. And clear signs of early dehydration in older people are yet to be determined. So there's a big need to identify those at risk of dehydration and be able to intervene early, because as you get older, you might be like outside gardening all day, but then and you actually, when you come in, you need a drink, but you don't have the same feeling as you would when you're a child. You come in absolutely parched and think, oh, I need a drink straight away. As you get elderly, those like senses change. So that was something that when I was researching, I thought was so important. And it was like, right, how can we change this? Because, for example, my mum doesn't drink any water. She only drinks water in the form of a cup of tea. And she knows it's not a good thing, and she knows she needs to drink more water. But it's trying to target a product to those people and try and really make them realize how important it is to stay hydrated during the day. And it's so good for your health, but to make it a bit more of a fun experience for them.
Yeah, great way of stimulating your mom. Like, you're going to be drinking water, that would make her drink water as well.
Exactly.
That's great. So obviously you've done a fantastic job with both of these ideas. And in reality, not many people have the determination and courage to do this until the very end. Obviously we've come so far and the pandemic hasn't gone away yet. Hopefully soon though. So you've talked about getting feedback, but have you actually seen the idea implemented like on a daily basis? For example, you give it to someone and they use it for 2 to 3 weeks or something like that, or it's still in the more of a design process?
So the support I've received from RS Components and Nordic Semiconductor to really help me make my ideas a reality has been incredible. They've given me the like electronic equipment and all the components that I need to put together to make the circuit. So in terms of the connected cups, I actually was building the circuit last week. I proved before the end of last year, I looked into all the kind of different features of the cup. So for example, using the accelerometer to like know if a person had picked up or put the cup down. Then I looked into this the capacitive sensing. So how the sensors would be activated, and then how that would change with like the water level. So I looked into that, and then I basically proved all of the different aspects of the connected cups. And then right now I'm at this stage where I'm joining them all together. So the circuit is actually built, but in terms of the coding, I need to work on how to kind of get the code, instead of being 3 different ones, to join it all together and make it work, which is something that I'm kind of working away on in the background right now. In terms of the check-in community system, as I said earlier, that was the one where I kind of hit a bit of a road bump. I kind of developed it all to the skills that I thought I had anyways. And then I was getting a bit stuck in terms of like the communication, the stuff which happens to me like in space and I don't see it. So I've had a wee bit of more learning to do on that, but I actually plan to kind of get stuck back into that maybe this weekend or during next week. But I think in terms of like development and design, this is where I'm kind of having to reach a point that with connected cups, my goal for both of them is to have a working prototype and then give it to someone to get some much better and more valuable feedback. I recently got a job at the end of last year, so that really like slowed down my development of both my ideas. And then now I'm much more settled in my job at Cool Mill. Then I've got much better at my time allocation. I know which nights I want to spend developing connected cups, and I know the next night I want to develop the check-in community system. So that's just been something that I've kind of been getting used to. And then once I've got my working prototype, I've been guided and like given suggestions of various funding that I can apply for. But for me, I only want to go for that funding once I've actually got a working prototype, so that I'm very much, I need to prove to them that this works and it's helpful for people before I kind of receive any money to develop it into a kind of finished product.
Yeah, your motivation for those is really inspiring, and I cannot wait to actually see them as a finished product. And good luck with that. I'm sure you're gonna have more time to develop them. And I really hope to see them into practice real soon. Especially, hopefully the pandemic goes away, but it would be nice if they actually get to be used for their original purpose and then get on with times.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you another interesting question, not really related to the projects, but just in general about STEM. So you probably won't be surprised to hear that society still perceives it unusual for women and females to be part of STEM and their careers. So, what is one stereotype that you've heard about or read about way too often, but your experience in STEM has definitely proven it wrong?
I think one thing I've probably read about and learned in terms of STEM is that when you get into the workforce, or you start working like as a professional engineer, that you be treated differently from like your male counterpart. And I think that is totally wrong. Like, if you choose the right company and you're working with people around you that are similar to you, they are going to treat you with the utmost respect. And if anything, like a lot of the jobs I've worked in, I have been the only girl on the whole floor or within the whole team, but that's fine. It actually gives you an opportunity, if anything. You can really show yourself and give a different message than maybe someone else might not have actually been heard. So in my view, I think it works in your favor. And all the jobs I've worked in, my mentors have actually been very conscious and aware, and they've asked me at the end of internships, thinking, and like, how was it for you? And I was like, yeah, it was fine. They're like, but how was it you like just being the only girl? And I was like, it was completely fine. I think they were actually more worried about it than I was. So I would say that, like, don't let being the only girl in the room phase you or put you off at all. You can, in most of the projects I worked on during university, the boys are actually the ones who look to you. So you tend to actually, and for me anyways, I tend to lead a lot of groups that I work in, because I love working with different people, and I would say I'm quite good at understanding maybe someone who's a bit quieter or more shy, and trying to get them heard, as well as trying to like stop the person who's talking all the time and coming up with those ideas. So it's really trying to work together as a group more. And I think those skills I've learned doing all the various group projects at university have helped me so much when you go into industry. So yeah, I would just say, like, don't be scared, be curious, and just jump right in.
That's great advice. Thank you. And thank you so much for participating today and giving us more insights on both of your projects. I've certainly learned a lot and I'm even more excited after interviewing you. And this has surely been truly inspiring. And I want to wish you good luck with all of your future developments and projects. And thank you for allowing us to interview you today about this. Thank you.
Thank you.